You don't like it?
That's strong, lover. We're live.
What is it?
What'd it do?
What is it?
Acai.
Is that a kitty
Acai
cat?
berry bliss.
Sigh?
Oh, that.
Thank you,
yes.
Sai.
Thank you, Sai.
It is the best one. Tastes like childhood.
What year?
Disappointment?
1994.
1994, y'all.
It's a shitty year.
Disappointment in a bottle?
Just gotta say, like, probably one of the worst of the 90s years is 94.
You guys are awful.
Well, they're also older.
Yeah, I think I was
By
20 in
little.
1994.
I was 10.
I was 7.
Definitely disappointment.
I was 3.
I was 7. That was like one of the best years of my life.
94?
Yeah, my first real nephew was born in.
Look, Jurassic Park came out in 93. Nothing in your life could have eclipsed that, and it was the year before, so.
Lion King.
Sorry.
That was pretty fucking Fox and the Hound.
Lion King was 91.
It was a very harrowing time to be a child.
I
There's
don't
a lot
believe
of loss.
I was raised
We
with,
looked all of our uncles sideways and whether or not they were going to try and kill us.
I was raised with Bambi and
And we watched Bambi too.
all those
Dumbo,
ones.
Pinocchio,
Yeah.
Bambi was traumatic.
Old
It's not
Yeller.
pronounced Pinocchio.
Sure it is. That's how the Canadians say it, right?
Pinocchio.
My God.
Let Mr. Disney tell us. The Death
Right.
Mouse expert.
No, that was right. You gotta say it with panache.
Panache. Panache.
It's perfect.
That's like fellatio.
Ooh.
Hey, you're welcome.
Wow.
And we lost a viewer.
We
Aw,
didn't have one, Steve. It's
damn.
fine. Hey, look! Hello, everyone. We're actually on the TV now. Put on your best faces. We got Canned and Tam Tam. We got Mr. Steven. Next to Mr. Steven, way over there. That's Modus or Eric. And then there's a black kitty cat right here. And that echoed.
Again. Voice changer.
Scared to say anything.
Oh.
I think you have the wrong input.
Is this the speaking demon?
And these are your contestants on the Hollywood Bears. Doo-doo-doo-doo. Oh wait, no wait, that's Price is Right.
Oh, that's
shit.
a pool. That's a pool. I can get
Okay,
on.
we read Town and Quartet, Book 2, titled Lud, A Heap of Broken Images. The first chapter is called Town and Quartet. We kind of decided that not much happened, but a lot happened.
In the back.
Yes, it was kind of a horizontal play, you know. We spread out a bit. We got a bunch more information coming from a lot of different sources.
Yep.
There's definitely get to the right page here. My bad. There's definitely a lot of backstory. We start with meeting one of my favorite members of the quartet, who is a Billy Bumbler, or if you could mix a raccoon with a corgi, I think you might get a little close to what he's going for. It is a new member of the quartet. His name is Oi. He loves Jake, and it speaks, because why not? Why not have a talking dog?
Why the fuck not?
How did I know that it would be your
Talking
favorite
trash
character of the
right now.
entire series?
It's not of the entire series, but I mean, Oi is he's a solid Billy Bumbler, Steve.
And
Yeah,
a
kind of
very
like Jar Jar
good
Binks was.
No, Jar Jar was not a Billy Bumbler. He was a Gungan.
Just to give you some insight,
And
Jar Jar Binks is cuss words in this room.
That's not true. I don't believe that. Jar Jar is probably the only reason why those Star Wars movies did any kind of good for anybody.
I found it amusing.
Thank you.
It was.
Thank you. Did you like that movie?
I don't really
Yes,
remember
I can.
all of it, but I do remember him, and I do remember him making me laugh.
Thank you.
Now, I
Yeah.
said that I
Wow.
liked Jar Jar, and I got shit.
Jar Jar is an accessible character for people who maybe
Like, I'm not
find
a
Star
Star
Wars
Wars
not
fan.
so accessible.
Yeah, like
Mhm.
I'm not a Star Wars fan, but like he made me want to
Steve's
keep watching the
gatekeeping it.
movie.
He's like, you can't like Star Wars if you only like Jar Jar. Jar Jar's the worst part of Star Wars, so you're not a real fan if you don't like Star Wars.
I am not. A fan, so.
You got to pick a stuffy from the movie, and you picked Jar Jar Binks. Like, there's the problem.
And the performance that has to go into playing that, like the dude did a great job.
Yeah, really. He's
Yes.
probably should have gotten an Oscar for that.
Probably.
Yeah.
Back to Billy Bumbler.
Sorry. So the the Billy Bumbler is let's see. They meet him on the road just before they come upon what seems to be an empty, derelict town. Roland, however, tells them they've been being watched for a while, and he prepares them for a meeting. There is a part where he throws a rock at like an old traffic light, like a traffic sign. I'm not sure if you guys
That's what starts
Keystone
everything.
Cop sign.
Keystone Cops. So what is that exactly?
So the Keystone Cops are like, I thought they were kind of like a fraternal order of just like people, goofy people.
Okay.
You know, my uncle was one, and like they went around to children's hospitals and dressed as clowns and
And so yeah,
just try to cheer people.
it's just supposed to be something goofy then. Like
Yeah,
it was like I think the reason why Eddie liked it so much is because it was, you know, in the middle of all this seriousness, this broken down, like decrepit, dusty old town, there's a goofy little stoplight in the middle of it, like popping up like little flags, like stop, go. You know, just kind of like a weird juxtaposition between something so serious and then something like kind of goofy. They meet some old people, some really old people, and then a really, really old lady. They hear some stories. You get kind of a background on the town that's close by, what happened to their town. Don't want to sit on this too hard because we're going to come back to it in a little bit. But you kind of see Roland in a different light with the way that these people treat him and like what's going on inside the town, and just kind of like, you know, especially Susanna notices like something more of like a diplomat and less of like a, you know, strong but silent Clint Eastwood gunslinger kind of dude. It's kind of a good mixture of like a lot of different things, and she's, you know, seeing him differently.
She's seeing in like an honorable side, and more like traditional.
Well, as part of the conversation, they also confirm the existence of a monorail, a train named Blaine, who turns out is going to be a pain.
that's what they be saying.
After they have a giant meal, they kind of have like a little ceremony, and even though Jake doesn't understand it, they leave almost immediately after the meal, after their little palaver, and Roland kind of has been keeping them from comparing notes as far as like how and like the circumstances of kind of everyone's existence in this quartet. But that night they have a very long talk, a very long palaver over the fire, and there's kind of a like, you tell me your story, I'll tell you mine kind of thing, where everyone's kind of catching up and getting on the same page. So, you know, a lot of it is parts of the stories that we've obviously already been to, but it's them kind of all becoming aware of how a certain kind of common thread has been woven between all of their lives and all the things that they've been doing, and like the dreams they're having, and there's a huge kind of vortex that seemed as if it was unrelated, but completely, after comparing notes, you know, everyone's little odd and ends pieces fit together to make something that's been connected for a long time. So at that point, let's see, where is it at? They read the Charlie the Choo Choo book. I think they look at the riddle book.
They
But
specifically
save it for
don't.
another day.
Yeah, they don't look at the riddles.
That's right. Not yet.
But they end up going to sleep, and Roland walks off to the road.
Right,
Listen
and
to
then
the
there's
drums.
kind of a little confrontation there, isn't there? I think it's important what happens there, because it's a
Semi-defining moment. Like,
it's definitely a place where we see Eddie like actively like stand and say he believes something, and like, you know, make sure that Roland understands that even without him, you know, he's gonna go find the Dark Tower too.
I think that the palaver in the town and the palaver that they all just had, it's opened Eddie's eyes a lot. Like, he's felt so much resistance towards Roland. Like, Roland's guiding him, and he's fighting it tooth and nail, but he also understands at the same time.
Yeah, Eddie is definitely he's being compared to Cuthbert, and he's been compared to Elaine, which are some of Roland's old buddies. Like Roland is definitely seeing lots of similarities of his friends in Eddie, and you know, one of the what was it that Cuthbert said about he would believe in ghosts
Catching a ghost in a teeth
when he caught one in his teeth, you know. I think that's a pretty good metaphor. You know, especially when you think like that's kind of Eddie's personality as well. You know, he's gonna talk a lot, and he's gonna, you know, make sure that like he's heard, but like he's still gonna do the right thing. But at the same time, like, you know, he's very skeptical. He's constantly questioning. He's constantly kind of taking the devil's advocate kind of role, and you know, I think that's important for a group to have those kind of like dissenting voices, and I think Eddie's is sometimes, you know, that voice.
Eddie's starting to almost mirror Roland in some things. Like, he was talking to Jake, and he saw Roland in himself, and he's like, fuck, I hate this. I feel sick.
Yeah.
Like, oh shit, I'm starting to sound like that guy.
Yeah. When they first left the town, Jake kind of didn't understand like why they didn't stick around, and Eddie kind of had to explain to him like, well, it's because it was never going to get any easier to leave. And you know, Roland explained it like he could save the 20 or 30 people here, you know, and help them and make sure that they like survive and are alive, but in doing so, he may be endangering the lives of 20 or 30,000 other people in another situation where, you know,
He's got to get there.
well, like, he would be useful, you know, like I kind of almost felt like he was saying like, you know, this is small potatoes, you know, like we could do good here, but it would just be small good, you know, where like we have the capacity and we have the capability to like go somewhere and do like
Fix it all.
big good, yeah, capital G good.
Playing a bigger game.
Right. You know, like
I
if
think
they
that was a great explanation.
yeah.
It was very wise.
But
how it was said.
you know, Jake, of course, like he just wants to help, and like he's, you know,
He's getting caught
he's
up.
young, so he's kind of naive when it comes to thinking about like bigger pictures and kind of stuff. So it just, you know, even Eddie, even though he didn't like it, like he understood it, but he still he didn't like it. Like, it didn't make him feel good, you know. And that's one of the things. Like, Roland's been doing this kind of thing for years and years and years, and you know, maybe it's a little bit easier for him, even though it still doesn't feel good. You know, he's been able to see like beyond the small good the big good that he's been capable and that he's been trying to get done like from the beginning. So it's kind of a learning moment for everyone, and Eddie kind of becomes the teacher on that one.
Eddie learns pretty quick.
Yeah,
Eddie learns really quick.
The old people in the town, they kind of tell about the grays and the pubes, which like that's kind of a weird post-apocalyptic, faction names, I guess.
They didn't pick it.
Well,
What's
right.
Stephen King going through? Like midlife crisis? Was he starting to go gray?
Something. Maybe he
Fuck
had
this.
some gray pubes. I think I want to make sure that we like point them out because they are definitely
Gray pubes that old.
they're definitely talking about there was like the legend of Andrew Quick, who went up to the sky in a mechanical bird, but a wing fell off and he came crashing down, and that's like generations after.
Well, you
like,
can do it quick, or you can do it right. Sorry. I'm sorry.
But like they were discussing how like the descendants of these people from these old factions are still like calling themselves these old names, and there's really no grays, there's really no pubes, but it's just kind of like a Bloods and Crips kind of thing where they just fight each other.
Because technically the pubes became grays,
Right.
And the
Right.
children of those.
The context of those names stopped mattering, and it just became more of a us versus them deal. Very, very kind of ominous tales about what's happening over in that city. There's also
A lot of
they
possible
mentioned two different
half-truths.
monos as well. There was one who went by this side of the city, and then there's one that the old blind lady said she could hear like 25 or so 35 years ago or something. Like she heard it for the last time, like leave
I
the
think it
city,
was 10.
whatever it was.
8 to 10.
There you go. Because they even argued over that. Books.
Roland's still
Thanks, guys.
Roland's still speaking in riddles. I mean, obviously.
Yeah, and he doesn't let them really tell much of their story to these old people either.
Right.
One point I just want to make: when Jake came through with his Seiko watch and his watch was going crazy, they said time was not what you think it is. Yet
Okay.
when they get to meet these old people, they then speak in years and things like that. And I find that to be a little bit inconsistent, because what is a year to them being there, considering that?
I think that's the idea, though, right? Like, it's supposed to be an inconsistent measurement, and like however they've measured years is the only way that they know to measure years. So for them, even if it was over long, it still was just a year because that's all they have to go by.
The oldest lady, she thought that a man who had the blood sickness was 8 years ago. And one of the other ladies said, "Oh, 10."
No, it was 10, which is like isn't that kind of how old people do, anyways?
Which
That-
could show the time variation.
Right, yeah, maybe them being uncertain about it just kind of shows that, like, they're not really sure.
They could have seasons like we do, but their time runs different than our time.
It's true.
So
Also, like
they went 3 or 4 days, and Jake was not even half a day.
that's true. When they were talking about jumping the worlds, Eddie knew that he was going to come through, but it was going to be tomorrow. Even
Also,
though,
I
like,
mean-
he was, like, already in the house on the other side.
Depending on where you're at, you're closer to a different wind.
Yeah, and, like,
It's all kinds of
you know,
fucked up.
like, I think time being a very, like, malleable thing is kind of an ongoing theme as well. You're going to see, like time being second guess directions, even. Like, they don't usually travel true
yeah,
north.
they're offset.
Right, they've got the beam to follow, and it's not necessarily
They say
pointing
southeast.
right.
Well, even the one-time measurement that sticks with me as well is him and the man in black had a palaver that lasted 100 years.
Yeah, there you go.
And he sat there and you go, so what's the relevant? Where do you put that in
Yeah.
the timeline?
Yeah.
Long enough for him to turn to bones. Solid bones, not even hanging flesh.
Yeah.
Well, the old people feed them nonetheless, stuff them. They eat a bunch of green stuff, which I think is just kind of like their way of saying like they're trying not to get scurvy or something. They like their bodies are craving, fresh, green, fibrous. Like they eat a.
I'm so untrustworthy, or I'm waiting for them to pass out or to be poisoned or something,
Yes.
They
Yes.
must ate that purple grass.
There was a point where like Susanna even mentioned like her stomach being slightly upset, but and that's when I thought like, oh, like now they're all poisoned, great, but it ended up being nothing.
They're gonna have diarrhea because of all the greens.
and he did mention having a really good crap to look forward to.
It's the highlight.
So they have a little ceremony. She gives him a cross. I think that was an important piece. The old lady, Aunt Talitha, gives him a cross, and she asks him to do something. Where's that at?
She said to lay it at the base of the Dark Tower and mention Talitha that's her name.
Unwin.
But speak her name at the tower.
There you go.
She at first was she was going to kneel at Roland to ask for Roland's blessing, but Roland stopped her to get blessing from her.
She said, "I've worn this day and night for over 100 years, Gunslinger. Now you shall wear it and lay it at the foot of the Dark Tower and speak the name of Talitha Unwin at the far end of the earth." And then here's the line. The cross dropped into the open neck of his deerskin shirt as if it belonged there. Like it was like just like waiting for old lady's cross to just complete his look.
We also get another look at, or a little bit more of an explanation of what Ka is.
Yep.
It's not, I don't know. It's so much but so little at the same time. Like the last book club I was talking about, Ka is this like thing that's driving, that's guiding, putting things in place. But Roland explained it more like if it was Ka and we were to go around the city, something would force us back to the city if we're supposed to go through it.
Yeah. They pretty much decide like
from it.
And I mentioned this earlier too, but like it's Jake who pretty much says like we can't go around. Like he kind of was like, I know like somehow that we have to get on this train, and like the train is in the city. So
He has been stuck on that train.
yeah, Blaine is a pain. I like where they talk more about Oi, where he came from. Apparently another
used to be
bumbler
good
bit him
luck.
and like run him out of his pack maybe.
Yep, he had dried blood on his hindquarters, and he was super skinny, much thinner than the others.
Yep. Jake has a dream that night where he's in the middle of what he said, the big empty of western Missouri, with Oi was with him, and they're at a railroad crossing. He hears the sound of the train coming, and then Oi jumps on the tracks and starts barking at it, and he freaks out.
Mm-hmm.
When he wakes up, kind of talks to him like it's all right. There's no train. It was just a dream. Go back to sleep.
Oi.
He's like, okay,
He's back
yeah,
down.
good night. The next day they see something on the horizon. This part I thought was really cool. They recognize a bridge. They see the bridge off in the distance, and it's the George Washington Bridge. It's the GWB, and he's like, how the fuck did that get there? And like you kind of understand that Eddie's been building up this idea of like what the city could be, and you know, on this journey so far, like it's been rough, right? But like they just got taken care of by just some, you know, super nice old people who just happened to be in their path, and you know, he wants to, like, you know, maybe in a Keystone Cops kind of way, wants to just go and bumble his way through the city thinking like he's going to be able to, you know, point his finger guns and laugh and smile, and, you know, they're going to find a Land Rover, and the old fucking elves that live in the buildings are going to save him, and, like, he just has this kind of, like, hopeful, like, almost, like, too hopeful, though, right?
Too optimistic. That's where Roland, he's like, he sort of sets him back a little bit because he is so hopeful.
Yeah, Eddie talks about the bridge like, you know, it's still standing, but Roland's like, bro.
I want you to trust your eyes. And
yeah,
like,
look at it. Do you think that's anything close to like help for us? Do you think that because you recognize the shape of it that it's a good thing?
But then he also shares part of his mother, and he's like, my mom had an old saying, was her favorite one, you hope for the best but expect the worst.
Yes.
And Roland's like, I like your mother.
Say hello to your mother for me.
Which, I mean, I've fucking said that. I'm like, yes.
Well, that's when Roland decides to call it, though, right? Like, he's like, okay, listen, let's stop and have a chat. You know, let's in the perfect view of this like relic, this like somehow recognizable relic. Let's stop here for the night, and we'll have a fire and we'll talk about all this stuff.
George Washington Bridge is what it was.
The GWB. This is where also you kind of get more of an understanding of Roland through like Susanna's eyes, about how she kind of like used to think of him as like the, you know, the kind of wild-eyed marshal who just like shoots his way through every encounter and, you know, kind of, you know, bullies his way through, and she's like realizing he's like much more of a sly, like super smart, almost like I would say like Roland's a psychopath.
He's methodical. I don't know.
I would say so.
You think Roland's a psychopath?
Yeah.
I mean, he very well could be. I mean, he's driven, he's blinded by his goal, and he doesn't give a shit who comes in his way. He's getting there.
I don't know. We can
How many
definitely,
has he killed?
we can discuss more later if you'd like.
I mean, I'm gonna assume that Cuthbert and Elaine have been killed by his hand in some way. He could have saved them, but he chose not to. The same with the people in Tull.
It's never safe to assume, my friend.
Well,
What is this is Twitter?
I think
We
before
read that Roland did it.
Well, Susanna was saying there's a lot more JFK than Matt Dillon in Roland.
You're saying P-Pops?
Us P-Pops.
I was just saying that the whole, I just think Roland hasn't really given a shit about anything. Like, so the whole, you guys saying that, like Candy was saying about how many people's died by his hand, because really before they weren't nothing but like pebbles underneath his feet on the way to his path to the Dark Tower.
I can see that, yeah.
He even described Eddie or compared Eddie to his hawk, which is just another pawn in this game.
Yeah. And Eddie even tells him, like... Yeah.
He's been called out on it, and Roland is kind of pissed off because Eddie kind of starts to see through his bullshit because Henry done that shit to him.
Well, Roland is trying to wake them up to the idea that they've been reading each other's minds, and that they've been connected, and they've been like very, very much like growing more and more connected as they've been together. And you know, there's a part where he reminds Eddie about when he was in the clearing of the bear, and he yelled for him to get down because the bat was swooping down. But you know, Eddie didn't realize it until just now. Like, Roland didn't actually yell that out loud. He yelled it to his mind. Then also there was the part where Roland was yelling at Jake to come through the door. He didn't actually
talked to him a couple
yell
times
anything.
through the house.
Yeah.
Roland says he doesn't feel like he's a part of the full quartet, like Roland himself.
Right.
And I gotta think that's just like his internal dialogue. It's funny, he spews the quartet speech, but he doesn't fully embrace it.
Well, Eddie called him on that too. Says, we've been reading each other's minds, but your mind is closed off to us.
Yep.
So that's one part where he did challenge Roland just before the bridge after they had those revelations that Roland hasn't quite stepped into the group yet.
He doesn't fully believe, like he still doubts himself. He can't stand and be true because he's not. I don't know. There's a lot of doubt. Go ahead.
Do you think his power will grow? Like he'll be more integrated into these psychic powers as he.
I think his fingers will grow.
That's what I'm hoping for.
He's hoping that too. Trust me.
He's like,
there's a part when they were taught, like, kind of comparing stories where they mention, Eddie starts talking about what happened with the bear, and he calls him Shardik, and then Jake is like, that's the name of a book in our world, written by the man who wrote the famous book about the rabbits, which is Watership Down. That's why when Eddie read the tag on the side of the bear that said Shardik, he thought of rabbits. It's because it was an author that wrote these books, and they used one name for the bear, and then you know, that kind of reminded Eddie of like the book he read when he was a kid. And they ask him, like, how is it that the people in your world know about things in ours? And Roland's like, you guys have already seen 4 doors between our worlds, you know, like there's got to be
Can you let him out?
other doors.
Yeah, they're all over the fucking place.
He said,
It's okay.
that there's been like overlaps between their worlds a lot, and he kind of points some of the ones out, like the Leaning Tower, where like Balazar was. He points out that the gunslingers in our world, while they're just cops, like there were actually like some of them who were very good at their job, and he called them, you know, true gunslingers.
But they were slow and lazy almost. Except for the one that almost took him down as Jack Moore.
He said, I saw his eyes. He knew
did.
the face of his father. I believe he knew it very well.
there's an example he didn't say. That was Calvin Tower. That came from Jake's world.
Yep. Calvin Tower.
That was the.
They both visited the same place. Eddie visited it as Tom and Jerry's Artistic Deli, but Jake visited it was a empty lot.
Yep. Even though Eddie go there? Did Eddie go there when he was older or when he was a kid? Was this a glitch?
It was a dream.
Like, you know what I mean?
It was a dream.
It was a dream.
But I believe Eddie was a kid when that happened. But they both, Eddie and Jake, went to Dutch Hill where the mansion was. You know, the same person who tried to kill Susanna is the same person who tried to kill Jake. Like, there's a lot of correlations there. And, like, Roland kind of points those out as just to kind of say, like, you know, smoke and mirrors. Like, that's why everything's all weird. But Eddie ends up calling him out and, like, telling him, like, bro, like, you don't have to lie to us. Like, at the end, he even tells him, like, he says, have I answered all your questions? He says, nope, but I think you played straight with me this time.
For the first time.
Yeah. I also like how the chapter ended where he's talking about something that he didn't tell him, which is in the old tongue, the word char means death, as in Charlie the Choo Choo.
That's one of the things that he knew, and he's like, I should tell him, especially after tonight and how connected they are, but I'm kind of hesitant. He's holding off, like, okay, so I think the reason why he feels like he's such an outcast he's an outsider in his world to this quartet. He doesn't trust the Tet, whereas the others have fully invested into it. I mean, semi because they don't have a choice, but now they're all willing and now they're ready to go. I mean, it talks about it in that last little chit chat they had. That was right before Roland's like,
Yeah.
kind of don't feel, but I think whenever he trusts the rest of the group, that's whenever he'll be better off. But also, he's always kept people at a distance.
Y'all want to hear one of the first instances of the word char?
Oh, was it at the gallows?
Oh, I didn't check the gallows.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Do tell.
Pray tell.
She was dying. You could smell. Oh, this is the Oracle and the Mountains.
Yeah,
Chapter
it's
2.
from a gunslinger, yeah.
Yeah. She was dying. He could smell her hair burning, could hear their cries of char you tree.
Char
Just
you
leave-
tree.
I'll just leave you at that.
Char you tree, come reap. Steve's like, I don't know where you are in that book. The next chapter is entitled, what is it?
Jackass in the City.
Jackass in the City. Let me pull it up. Bridge and City. Yeah, Bridge and City. Yeah, there you go. I have fist holding a lightning bolt. That's fun. Bridge and City. I have a couple of images I'm gonna send up to Discord, and I think if we can talk about it, where's Tam Tam? Tam Tam? Peepops?
Tam.
Yeah.
Listen real quick.
Steve's going on vacation this week, and we have 2 sessions left of the book. So
One is huge.
we could. What I'd like to do is just take 2 weeks to finish the book, and come do a live session in 2 weeks.
That sounds fine.
We are still going to have a meeting on Friday, like the week in between, but it's not going to be filmed or anything. We're just going to get together and chit chat.
Sounds good.
Okay. Steve, if you can make the Friday meeting, that'd be cool, but not necessary.
It's good. Read it all. See you in 2 weeks.
Yeah, we'll definitely get back together. We can,
Which is the 5th.
we'll be finishing the book, so it'll be fun to kind of end on a big bang.
When did we start this book? Has it been a month for this book?
I think so.
1, 2, 3, 4. 4 weeks ago.
Yeah,
I've made a couple sales, so I'll be able to buy the set soon.
neat.
I was telling
Congratulations.
Tam, I think we're gonna buy the set as well, and then another set from like thrift stores. That way I can highlight it on.
You probably find more sets at thrift stores than anywhere else, to be honest. I used to go and just hunt paperback or hardbacks because I had all of them paperback at least once or twice.
Or like the
What
Pepsi
happened?
Ball.
Anything
Oh,
at
no.
thrift stores.
I want to buy it in hardcover and soft, because for a home collection to be considered a library, you need 1,000 books, and I have a life goal. It doesn't matter how many
Hey,
copies of
We
each
got
book.
over 1,000 books. We have a
It's
private
considered
library.
it's considered a library.
I have over 1,000 books.
I don't have that many yet, but I have like
I'm not
500
gonna count.
worth of 20 books.
Cool.
No, I'm not even counting children's books because those things are fucking small.
well, yeah. If I counted children's books, I'd be well over that.
We have 3 bookcases, double deep. One's almost like double wide. We have a bookcase in Jack's room, a box of books under the bed, in the closet, in the hope chest, and down in the basement.
I think Steve's holding on to the only book he owns.
He just keeps reading it, and the stories just keep changing.
Yeah, it's called a tablet, assholes.
It's got paperweight.
I am hearing lots and lots of very loud thunder. I'm gonna go ahead and say goodnight to the stream.
I heard on my side too.
Yeah, it's about to open up over here. Thanks for being part of the stream tonight, guys. Is Tam Tam gonna be able to say goodbye, or are you gonna say goodbye for her?
Tam Tam,
Yeah.
you gonna be able to say goodbye? She said no.
Okay.
Hi.
She said bye. Good night.
All right, guys. It was great. Have a good night, and we'll catch you in 2 weeks.
Toodaloo.
Right.